The morning sun had barely crested over Willow Creek subdivision when Marcus Chin stepped out onto his porch with his first cup of coffee. He froze mid-sip, his eyes widening in absolute disbelief at the sight before him. His house, his beautiful, carefully maintained cream-colored Victorian home, was now bubblegum pink. Not just any pink, the kind of aggressive, fluorescent pink that seemed to vibrate in the morning light. Every single exterior wall, every shutter, even the decorative trim around his windows gleamed in that shocking shade. What the... Marcus's coffee mug slipped from his hand, shattering on the porch steps. The crash brought his wife, Jennifer, running to the door. "Marcus, what's wrong?" "I heard." She stopped dead in her tracks, her mouth falling open. "Oh my God!" Across the street, sitting on a pristine white lawn chair with a satisfied smile, was their neighbor Deborah Patterson. She wore designer sunglasses and held a mimosa in one perfectly manicured hand, watching like a queen surveying her kingdom. Marcus's hands clenched into fists. This had been building for months, but he never imagined Deborah would go this far. It had all started 6 months ago when Marcus and Jennifer had filed complaint with the HOA about Deborah's meditation garden. The woman had installed a massive water feature that ran 24/7, creating a constant rushing sound that made sleeping impossible. When asked politely to turn it off at night, Deborah had laughed in their faces. "The universe flows at all hours," she'd said, flipping her platinum blonde hair. "Perhaps you should try being less uptight." The HOA had sided with Marcus and Jennifer, forcing Deborah to install a timer. That's when the real war began. First, Deborah had accused them of letting their oak tree's roots damage her underground sprinkler system. She demanded they pay $8,000 in repairs. When an arborist proved the roots weren't even close to her property line, she'd simply moved on to her next attack. Then came the parking incidents. Deborah would park her massive SUV exactly 1 inch over the property line, just enough to be on their property, but not enough to legally tow. She'd leave it there for days, blocking their driveway access. But this was nuclear warfare. Marcus stormed across the street, Jennifer close behind him. Deborah didn't even glance up from her phone as they approached. "Good morning, neighbors." Her voice dripped with false sweetness. "Lovely day, isn't it?" "You painted our house," Marcus said, his voice shaking with barely controlled rage. "You actually painted our house pink." Deborah finally looked up, her expression the picture of innocence. "Did I? Oh, dear." There must have been some confusion. Confusion? Jennifer's voice cracked. "Deborah, we have security cameras." "Do you?" Deborah took a delicate sip of her mimosa. "Well, I hired a painting crew last night to paint my shed. Perhaps they got confused in the dark. These things happen. I'll have to have a word with their supervisor." Marcus felt his blood pressure skyrocketing. "Your shed is 20 feet tall and bright purple. Our house is a 2-story Victorian. How could anyone possibly confuse?" "Are you calling me a liar, Marcus?" Deborah's voice turned icy, her mask slipping for just a moment. "Be very careful. I have the president of the HOA on speed dial, and Brenda just loves to hear about harassment from other residents." Jennifer grabbed Marcus's arm, pulling him back before he could say something they'd regret. "Come on, we're calling the police." "Oh, do give Officer Reynolds my regards," Deborah called after them sweetly. "We had such a lovely chat at the charity gala last week. His wife and I are in the same book club." Back in their pink house, Marcus paced the living room while Jennifer pulled up their security camera footage on her laptop. Her hands trembled as she clicked through the files. "Here," she said, her voice tight. 3 a.m. "Look." The footage showed Deborah's SUV pulling up with a trailer. Men emerged and began unloading paint supplies. But what made Marcus's stomach drop was the next part. Deborah herself, standing on their lawn, pointing at different sections of the house, and clearly directing the crew. "We've got her," Marcus breathed. The doorbell rang. Marcus opened it to find Brenda Holloway, the HOA president, standing on their pink porch with a clipboard. Behind her expensive sunglasses, her eyes were cold. "Mr. Chun, Mrs. Chun, I'm here about an incident report filed this morning." "Good," Jennifer said, relief flooding her voice. Then you already know what, Deborah. Not by you, Brenda interrupted. By Mrs. Patterson. She's claiming you hired a crew to paint your house pink in the middle of the night without HOA approval and in direct violation of our community standards. Marcus felt the world tilt. She's claiming we did this? Brenda consulted her clipboard. According to Section 7, Paragraph 3 of the HOA bylaws, any exterior paint changes must be submitted for approval 30 days in advance. Pink is not on our list of approved colors. She looked up at them with barely concealed disdain. I'm afraid this is a serious violation. The fine is $500 per day until the house is returned to an approved color. This is insane. Jennifer shouted. We have video proof that, Deborah. I'll need to see that video. Brenda held out her hand expectantly. Jennifer hesitated, something in Marcus's expression stopping her. He'd gone very still, his eyes narrowing as he looked at Brenda. You already knew, Marcus said quietly. You knew before you came here what really happened. Brenda's lips pressed into a thin line. I don't know what you're suggesting. How much is she paying you? Marcus asked. Or what does she have on you? For just a second, Brenda's mask cracked. Fear flickered across her face before she composed herself. I'll expect that video within the hour. Good day. After she left, Jennifer turned to Marcus. What are we going to do? Marcus was already pulling out his phone. We're going to go over her head. 3 days later, Marcus and Jennifer sat in the office of Thomas Whitmore, the lawyer who just reviewed their security footage for the third time. He leaned back in his chair, tending his fingers. This is quite remarkable, he said. Criminal trespassing, vandalism, property damage. The footage is crystal clear, but there's something else here. He turned his monitor toward them. I did some digging into your HOA president. Brenda Holloway has been embezzling funds from the HOA for 2 years. Small amounts, but consistent. And 3 months ago, guess who discovered it? Deborah, Jennifer whispered. Exactly. She's been blackmailing Mrs. Holloway ever since, using the HOA as her personal weapon against anyone who crosses her. Thomas smiled grimly, but she made one critical mistake. Security cameras don't lie, and painting someone else's property without permission is serious business. We're talking felony vandalism charges. That's 2 to 5 years in prison. Marcus felt a weight lift from his chest. So what's our next move? We go to the police, file charges, and then we sue. Both Deborah and the HOA. Civil and criminal. Thomas pulled out a business card. I also took the liberty of contacting a friend who works in the state HOA Regulatory Commission. They're very interested in Brenda's activities. The confrontation came 1 week later. Marcus and Jennifer watched from their window as 2 police cars pulled up to Deborah's house. The woman opened her door in her silk robe, mimosa in hand as always, her smile fading as the officers explained why they were there. This is ridiculous. Her voice carried across the street. I want my lawyer. That's your right, ma'am, Officer Reynolds said, his tone professional. He was a different man than the one Deborah had charmed at social events. Evidence had a way of changing perspectives. But you're going to need to come with us. As Deborah was led to the patrol car, she turned and locked eyes with Marcus across the street. The hatred there was pure and undisguised. But there was something else too, defeat. She'd finally pushed too far. The handcuffs clicked shut around her wrists. 3 hours later, another police car arrived for Brenda Holloway. The repaint took 4 days. Professional contractors worked around the clock, restoring Marcus and Jennifer's Victorian to its original cream color. The bill went straight to Deborah's insurance company, along with charges for emotional distress, loss of property value, and legal fees. The criminal trial was set for 6 months out, but the civil suit settled within weeks. Deborah's lawyer, faced with incontrovertible video evidence, advised her to pay the full amount Marcus and Jennifer demanded, $150,000 in damages plus all legal fees. But the real victory came from an unexpected source. 2 weeks after Deborah's arrest, Marcus received a text from an unknown number. You're not the only one. Can we talk? He met Sarah Mitchell at a coffee shop downtown. She was a soccer mom type, friendly and nervous, clutching her phone like a lifeline. Deborah did something similar to me 2 years ago. Sarah explained. She poured concrete in my pool's filter system after we complained about her hosting parties until 3 a.m. on weeknights. Caused $40,000 in damage. She had Brenda back her up, saying I probably did it myself for insurance fraud. I couldn't prove anything, so I just moved. Why are you telling me this now? Sarah smiled, and there was steel in it. Because now there's proof she's capable of it. My lawyer says we can reopen my case. She paused. And I'm not alone. I've been in contact with 6 other former Willow Creek residents. She's done this to all of us. Marcus leaned back, a slow smile spreading across his face. She's not going to just lose this battle. She's going to lose the war. 6 months later, Marcus and Jennifer hosted a barbecue. Their backyard was full of neighbors, new friends they'd made after Deborah's departure. She pleaded guilty to avoid trial, received probation and a massive fine, and had been forced to sell her house and leave the subdivision. Brenda had resigned in disgrace, facing embezzlement charges. The new HOA president, a retired teacher named Margaret, raised her glass to standing up for what's right, even when it's hard. Everyone cheered. Jennifer leaned against Marcus, watching the sunset paint their cream-color house in shades of gold and amber. Was it worth it? She asked quietly. All that stress, all that fighting? Marcus thought about it, then nodded. Yeah, because it wasn't just about us. Deborah would have kept doing this to people, and Brenda would have kept letting her. Sometimes you have to fight the dragon, even when it's scary. Very philosophical, Jennifer teased, kissing his cheek. Hey, I earned it. Do you know how many nights I lost sleep over this? She laughed, the sound bright and free. Across the street, a young couple was moving into Deborah's old house. They waved, and Marcus waved back. Some battles had to be fought. But on the other side of those battles, when you won, there was peace. Real peace. The kind that comes from knowing you stood up not just for yourself, but for everyone who couldn't stand up for themselves. Marcus raised his beer to the empty house across the street, the one that had once housed a tyrant. Checkmate, Deborah. And the neighborhood breathed easier.